Yeah, this is a bombshell for real. Lord just gave me in my spirit. I told you he gives me things as I can digest them. With all the stuff that's been happening this morning, he gives me this too. Maybe because it's August 11th, which is approximately 1 month from my birthday. But I, I this is so sad. John Jennings is not my father. If he has been going around telling people in the community that I am his estranged daughter or possible possible offspring from one of his mistresses, this is a lie. I am Darren Vincent Ward's daughter. To my knowledge, I was raised with this assumption. Please understand that Darren Vincent Ward and John Jennings are cousins. They're first cousins. Auntie Lanae Jennings is sisters with Jeanette Ward Noble Pfeiffer. both of which both of which of these ladies have gone on to be with the Lord. These were their children. Auntie Lanae had one son, and that was John Jennings, from what I understand. No, she had two. There was also Lenny, uh, another son named Lenny that looks this strikingly resembles my father, Darren Vincent Ward. So you know what I'm saying here with this. Um, and again, this is as it speaks to my reality. This is not to be airing out anybody's business, right? The only reason I'm doing so is because, for what I understand, Lord keeps placing the number flashing in my spirit, 32. So he's been here for 32 years, just like I have been here for 32 years. And again, Darren Vincent Ward is my father, and John Jennings is his cousin, first cousin. They lived together briefly in San Diego. They were there when my mother went through her postpartum depression and subsequent nervous breakdown uh, after having her third child, right? So, and I watched this unfold. This is not something somebody told me, right? John Jennings, to speak to his character, right? He was dating a young lady named Tanya, right? Tanya being of Caucasian descent, and him being of African American or indigenous descent, right? Um, Again, this stuff, it precedes my existence and should have no bearing on me. Okay, my parents were married. I resemble my mother if I'm not. And again, the adoption of other family members was prevalent in my family. This is what they did, is to try to keep the babies, they said, in the family, and they would not be placed in foster care. Or they want someone in the family extended, when really they were trying to get paychecks for all of these people, from the government. This is what it sounds like to me. It still sounds like that to me. So, and then because of the way it was approached, I was approached by my brother saying, "You can get a check for taking care of us." Yeah, I was like, "A check for what?" You have to understand, you're talking to somebody that was making in between 55 and 60K per year by herself. Okay, I didn't have any overhead. I didn't have no husband, and I had no kids. So I was looking to invest and become an entrepreneur, and I had other aspirations for my life. I wanted to go into real estate. And my heart posture when it comes to money is that of a giving nature. So I would have, aligned myself. Now, please understand, I've worked in corporate America for 32 years amongst men. So I know how men are when it comes to their greed and when it comes to coming up on somebody to get some money. This is not to mention my street. I'm street savvy with this too, because my father and them, they would do what if they saw an opportunity to come up on some money, they would do it. So I know a hustler's mentality from the street, and then I know a corporate boardroom mentality from being in the corporate world. So again, you dealing with somebody that has a heart posture that is giving, but I do evaluate every circumstance and every side of every situation before I invest any of my resources or myself, time, effort, or energy into anything. Right? It's who I am as a person. So if you ain't realized that by now, I don't just go off willy nilly doing any damn thing. And I may look naive and sweet, but I ain't stupid. By no means, no stretch of the imagination. And by the time you figure this out about me, it's normally too late, right? So you won't be able to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to get over on me, is what I'm saying. Because I will have already peeped it and 9 times out of 10 remove myself from the situation before it becomes a situation. So, with that being said, again, I say that a lot. John Jennings and my father did not get along. Matter of fact, my father hated this man. And I didn't understand why. I was like, because, you know, we called him Cousin John, right? Again, this is one of the descendants or a part of the line that consisted of the LGBTQ community, right? And this is where it was introduced in my life from, right? As it relates to me, again, I discuss these people, but not to broadcast their business, right? So, anyway, Mr. John Jennings, or Cousin Johnny as we used to call him. That's why they had Little Johnny, and then they had Cousin John. That's to distinguish the two Johns from each other, right? So as a child coming up, I was told to refer to him as Cousin John. But when interacting with him, he wanted me to call him Uncle John. And I was like, my daddy was like, that ain't your uncle, that's your cousin. You know what I'm saying? You call him Cousin John. And he would always call him a bullshitter. My daddy would call him that. And that he wasn't no stand-up man, is what my daddy used to say. And I was like, why would you talk that way about your cousin? And he's helping you with your children, and the more that I was around this gentleman, I come to find out for myself, or make an assessment, or all this noise. I made an assessment for myself as to who he was as a person based on my interaction with him and his interaction with others. He treated his women like he was their pimp. And they definitely treated him with respect, admiration. To me, the way it comes across, even as a grown woman today, it was a more of a pimp and one of his prostitutes type of situation, as far as the relationships that I witnessed, right? The women he dated were Caucasian. I'd never seen him with a black woman. You know what I'm saying? So this is not to say anything bad about him. This is just to say how it actually, appeared on the surface. So I don't want anybody to be thinking in his family I'm trying to comfort him, because that's not what it is. I indeed am trying to comfort him in the event that he has been spreading this rumor or this lie or this false narrative that he is indeed my father. He is not my father. Please understand, I'm telling the entire community, John Jennings is a cousin. He is not my father in no sense of the word. So even though I have a photograph with him and Alice on my Facebook page, it is because my grandmother did birthdays for each month. His birthday falls in September around the 13th, I believe, or the 12th, as mine falls on the 11th, and Auntie Alice's falls on the 12th or the 13th as well. Alice Negron. So you have a photograph of us three in the picture, but these are not my parents. If anyone saw the picture and gave it to somebody else and he tried to sell it or pawn it off to you as I was his daughter, it is indeed a lie. I am not John Jennings' daughter. He has, I believe, three daughters and one son. One, the eldest of which being Serena Jennings, her mother being Diane. I can't remember her last name. Uh, and Serena is distinct. You would never forget her because her eyes are green in color. No, blue in color, I believe. And she again was a interracial child, mulatto. So, and she was the light skin, right? And me and her are the same exact age, right? It's based on our social class today. She may even be privileged or rich, is what the Lord has given me in my spirit. And she lives in the Dallas Fort Worth area, from what I'm understanding too. I have spoken with cousin John, and I told him about my situation, and he began to during the course of our conversation, he began to be enlightened about my spiritual gifts, because he was like, there's no way she can know these things, and they happened before her birth. Okay, so there was confirmation regarding my knowledge and the things that I know, and that I can't speak to how I know. You know what I'm saying? And so he was shocked. He was floored, even about his significant other that had just passed on from illness, and the fact that I was able to provide him with information regarding her passing and her kids. So that's why I'm telling you, y'all, it's just so sad what has been done to me. These people, they've been lying. So if he had, and he says that he works for the city, from what I understand. Yeah, the Lord has given me some type of city affiliation, and he has for over 30 years since he's been here, and I've been here, which speaks to the redirection of my mail and things like that, to where I would not be informed of any possible inheritance or any type of money situation, that he would be trying to govern it with the power of attorney over my life. And I had no idea that this man has been here for 32 years, or that he was doing such things. That's what I'm saying. This can happen to anybody, you guys. Somebody can just pick you out randomly, and I'm not attending another family gathering or family reunion or anything. These people never see you, and then when they do, if you're successful, you become a target for them. If they're criminals, they're like, okay, let me check into her, because the way, with the advent of computer technology, they just Google you and find out who you are extensively, and pull a lot of scams and things with just your name and your likeness. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is what has happened to me, and I am in the street, and this person has apparently been living on high on the hog all of these years that I've been struggling off of what I was not supposed to be, because he's been telling people he's my father and possibly receiving money. And child, it's deep. It's very, very deep. Which would explain why when the gentleman came to see me, he was crying and all upset that when I told y'all I looked like little Johnny. So, yeah, if y'all been lying and telling people that I'm your daughter, I am not related to this man in that manner. Um, these are cousins, based on my grandmother and Auntie Lane being sisters. I have no, and then, like I said, I don't want to speak to that man's personal business, but yeah. And so for whatever he's done, criminal or scam or whatever, the Lord's giving me in spirit that He's like, I'm too old to go to jail, and this, and this. You going to have to deal